scheduled meeting for this Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Thank you all so much for being with us this evening. School board members are here in attendance. I know Member Salamanca is not available. I'm not sure if Member Felder, I know she's under the weather. We wanted to check and see if she was calling in. I had gotten a message she might be. All right, well, she has been under the weather, and we're wishing her well. As a reminder, school... Oh, I thought you might be here. Member Felder, are you there?
I am. Good evening. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, I tried to reach you. Probably didn't recognize the number, but we're thinking of you and hope you're doing well, and we'll be back with us soon. All right.
Yes, just keep praying for me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You are in my prayers. Board members will not be...
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. You will not be engaging in outside electronic or digital communication during the meeting so that we can focus on the matters before us. To my fellow board members, district staff, any members of the public that might be speaking, please make sure your microphones are turned on and speak directly into them so our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. Again, thanks for participating and attending this evening's meeting. We're going to begin with a moment of silence, and then I'll invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Member Felder, I will keep you in my prayers. And now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let me start with Dr. Vasquez. Do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, Madam Chair, there are no changes.
All right, seeing that there are no changes, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as published. Motion by Member Byrd, second by Member Ferrant. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now for recognitions. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized for introduction of newly appointed administrators.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am so pleased to announce new assistant principals to Orange County Public Schools. We're going to begin with John Spencer Albritton, and he is going to be the new assistant principal at Jones High School.
All right, good evening. Thank you, school board members, Superintendent Vasquez, and staff for this opportunity to serve at the great Jones High School, located in District 5, where the talent resides. All right. I also want to thank Mr. Martinez and Dr. Dispenza from the high school office for their support every step of the way. Thank you all for welcoming me as a part of your team. I would also like to thank God, who makes everything possible, my partner Keith, who has always believed in me, my family, my friends, Mr. Norwood, my mentor. I am so excited to be a Jones Tiger and to support the students as well as a high school office. Thank you, Norbert, for trusting in me, and thank you in the high school office for your support.
Thank you. Dr. Vasquez, I've never done this before, but I just want to take a moment because we do have Member Felder on the line, and Member Felder coined the phrase, District 5, where the talent resides. So I know she is happy that she tuned in to hear that, and thank you, sir. Dr. Vasquez, sorry for the intro. Back
Yes,
to you.
I am quite happy. Thank you. I was surprised to hear him say that, but thank you so much. I'm almost there, y'all. I'll be back soon.
I know you will. I know you will. All right, Dr. Vasquez.
Next, we have Jessie Mariah Fiffick, who's going to be the new assistant principal at Bay Meadows Elementary.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I would like to thank the school board, Board Member Gould, Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Armbruster, Dr. Jones, Mr. McClough, and of course, Ms. Dories. I am so excited to learn and grow in OCPS through this role. I feel so proud to have started as a classroom teacher, worked my way up through the leadership team, and now a proud assistant principal. I want to extend my gratitude to my mentors, my family near and far, and my colleagues who have helped guide and support me to this next step in my career. Once again, I'm excited to be in this role, helping my school reach its full potential for the upcoming school year. Thank you.
Carlton Rowe is the new assistant principal at Palmetto Elementary.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to school board members, Superintendent Vasquez, staff, for the opportunity to serve as Palmetto Elementary School's assistant principal. I would like to thank Dr. Armbruster, Dr. Jones for endorsing the decision to bring me on board at Palmetto. I'm appreciative to my former principal, Dr. Mark Wachowski, for taking the time to groom me for this leadership role. To my current principal, Ms. Patricia Sells, and principal leader, Karen Verano, for seeing the potential to lead in me, lead people. Most importantly, I would like to recognize the support and encouragement of my wife, Genesis Rowe, along with my two sons, David and Daniel. My family support system encouraged me to welcome Palmetto as my new extended family. Thank you all.
Celeste Spears is the new assistant principal at Spring Lake Elementary.
Good evening to members of the board, board member Mrs. Byrd, Superintendent Vasquez, and staff. Thank you so much for this opportunity to serve as assistant principal at Spring Lake Elementary School under Dr. Wilkins, our principal. I forgot tongue-tied here. Thank you so much. She's been wonderful. I've come from North Carolina, so she's been wonderful with helping me to learn the Orlando way, and she's been a great partner in this work. I look forward to a wonderful year at Spring Lake, helping our students to bloom.
Next, we have Tandrika Harris, who's going to be the new assistant principal at the Carver Middle School.
Good evening. I would like to thank Superintendent Dr. Vasquez, Deputy Armbruster, Chair Jacobs, Vicki Elaine Felder in District 5, and the school board members for this opportunity. Many thanks to the STO office, Mr. Bond and Ms. Flores, my principal leaders, to my amazing husband and children, my parents, for your unwavering support, to my village of extended family and friends, thank you for always lifting me up. To my mentors, Dr. Schuler and Dr. Brown Cannon, thank you for pushing me. Mr. Horn and Ms. Evelise, who are like my parents, for your continuous support. Principal Brown, for giving me all the duties at Phyllis Wheatley so that I am ready for Principal Danner. Thank you for allowing me to serve under your leadership as we continue to support student achievement at the Carver Middle School. One team, one goal, go Bears.
And finally, we have David Michael Wenzel, who is going to be the new assistant principal at Arbor Ridge School.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you, school board members, Superintendent Vasquez, and staff for the opportunity to serve at Arbor Ridge K-8. I would like to start by thanking Dr. Fritzler and Mr. Leslie for giving me the opportunity to rejoin OCPS. To my former principals, Nikki Campbell and Becky Watson, thank you for believing in me and giving me a strong understanding of what it takes to be an administrator. I'm forever grateful for your leadership. I would also like to thank Jen Fugate, Francella Lewis, Anthony Russell, Amanda Jones, Chelsea John, and Amy Bassetti for all their support and guidance along the way. I would like to thank Principal DeMars and the rest of the Arbor Ridge community for making me feel so welcome. I look forward to serving alongside of you. Last but not least, thankful to my amazing wife and my sons, Sean and Ryan. We couldn't do this without them, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to each and every one of you, and welcome on board to the administrative family. We're so delighted you've chosen OCPS.
All right, can we bring our newly appointed members up to the front so we can get a picture?
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Yeah. So perfect.
All right, look at it, man. It's getting down to a science, right? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome to District 1. Or back to District 1. Thank you. Congratulations.
You get school tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, so, yep, they're heading out to get ready for tomorrow. It's always so exciting. All right, next I'd like to invite Clinton McCracken, President of the Classroom Teachers Association. Welcome. Ooh, it's short. Okay, guys in the back, they took away my thing to do that, so
Thank
there we
you.
go. That's better.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Vasquez, and to our entire OCPS community. I'm thrilled to stand here today to congratulate everyone for OCPS being named an A district. This achievement reflects the collective effort of our entire community. It takes all of us to ensure the success of our students, and today I'd like to celebrate everyone who contributed to this accomplishment. From our students and parents to community partners to the dedicated bus drivers, custodians, clerical and other support professionals, school and district leaders and staff, everyone plays a crucial role in supporting our classrooms and student success. It truly takes a village. We must also highlight the significant contributions of our teachers. Teachers are the foundation of a successful school system and directly responsible for student achievement in Orange County. They bring a deep knowledge of state standards, expertise in pedagogy, and an unwavering passion for helping students achieve their full potential, both academically and holistically. They go above and beyond, dedicating countless hours to the art of teaching. And the evidence of their hard work is reflected in our district's A rating. Teachers are teaching, and they're doing it well. Speaking of dedication, many teachers were already in their classrooms before pre-planning even began, giving up their personal time during the summer to prepare for this school year and to welcome back all of our amazing students with open arms. This dedication is a testament to their commitment to our students' success. We welcome them back to another school year, but let's acknowledge they're in varying spaces. Some were able to relax and recharge over the unpaid break, but others worked other jobs throughout the summer in order to make ends meet. So thank you to all of our teachers for who you are, for what you've accomplished in your classrooms, and for your united voices. Our teachers have also shared their own gratitude for the support they get from each other through their involvement in our collective union. Some people misunderstand what this union is and see it as an entity separate from our teachers. Our teachers are the union. They are in union with each other and work together to improve this profession. For example, as you probably know, we reestablished our CTA professional development last year, led by teachers for teachers. And we're looking forward to continuing and increasing these offerings this year. Thank you, Dr. Vasquez, for your support for our PD last year and ensuring teachers could get substitute coverage for this important program. And we're working to ensure the working environments in our schools support teachers because in the end, this supports students. We know in any job, when employees feel respected, valued, and supported, they can meet ambitious goals. So to our teachers, thank you for your tireless efforts, your expertise, your passion, and your dedication day after day. Congratulations, everyone, for earning this A rating.
Mr. McCracken, thank you so much. Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you. All right, we will move on to a strategic plan update. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, you know, it's that time of year when we have a lot of rain, and with that rain comes the possibility of tropical storms, hurricanes, shutdowns, hurricane makeup days. And so tonight we thought it would be appropriate for you to hear from our team that works tirelessly year-round to ensure that not only that we are safe, but that we are prepared for any of the emergencies that take place. And so I'm going to turn it over to Lou Alexis to begin the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair Jacobs, members of the board, Superintendent Vasquez. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. As you all are aware, emergency management, we lead district-wide efforts when it comes to emergency preparedness activities. So from creating emergency plans and procedures to testing them to make sure they're appropriate and they're effective, to evaluating emergency preparedness drills at our schools, to planning and hosting preparedness days, you'd be happy to know we also do a lot of planning and coordination when it comes to severe weather. With the help and guidance of the National Weather Service, we are still the only school district in the nation that received the district-wide distinction of being a storm-ready school district. So we continue our partnership with the National Weather Service through training and exercises and close collaboration, especially during hurricane season. So to present on the seasonal forecast, I'm going to pass it over to our Assistant Director, Bob Boyd.
Good evening, everyone. This is a little bit different for me. I am the guy who normally comes and tells people that I'm about to ruin your weekend. A hurricane is coming. So this is kind of nice. Nobody ran out of the room when I walked up here, so that's a good start for me. First thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about the Atlantic seasonal hurricane forecast for this year. The folks at Colorado State are the gold standard when it comes to long-range forecasts. I know everybody kind of laughs. Why Colorado? Well, there was a gentleman there by the name of Dr. William Gray. He was the first person that realized that global circulations actually impact hurricane development across the globe. So they started doing the forecast back in the 70s. The insurance companies further funded it, and now it is a pretty solid forecast, actually, compared to what it used to be back in those infancy days. So Colorado State, which has updated their forecast as of August 6, is predicting 23 named storms this year. They're predicting that 12 of those will become a hurricane, and that 6 of those hurricanes will be major hurricanes. So a major hurricane is anything Category 3 or greater. So this would be classified as an extremely active season compared to normal. Now, they also give specific probabilities for states in their forecast as well. So here in Florida, they predicted there was a 94% chance we would see a named storm. We can say that's 100% now, thank you to Debbie. We have a 70% chance of seeing a hurricane impact, and they classify an impact as anything that comes within 50 miles of the coast. They also predict there's a 40% chance for a major hurricane impact sometime this season here in the state of Florida. Now, the folks at the NOAA, which we would also know as the National Weather Service, also issue a hurricane forecast. Now, they do it a little bit differently. They issue theirs in a range. NOAA doesn't like to be wrong. They get graded by Congress, so they want to make sure they're right on this. So they usually give us a range that storms are going to come in. So they're predicting anywhere from 17 to 24 named storms, 8 to 13 hurricanes, and 4 to 7 of those being major hurricanes. Now, they're saying that they feel this year there's a 90% chance we're going to see an above average season. Our name list for this year is posted for you. We have had 4 named storms to date. Obviously, Beryl was quite an impactor, not here, but other places down in the Caribbean, one of the earliest season Category 5 storms we've seen. And currently we have Tropical Storm Ernesto out in the Atlantic. Now, thankfully for us, Ernesto shouldn't be a big problem, but we'll always continue to monitor. Now, why are we expecting so many storms this season? Well, it's pretty easy. In the Pacific, there's something called La Nina going on. That means there's cold water up near the Pacific coast. Long story short, that means it's more favorable for hurricanes to form in the Atlantic because air tends to rise where there is warm water, which is currently now in the Atlantic. That being said, we're seeing record sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic and the Caribbean right now. So consider this the gasoline that hurricanes run on. So this is just gas ready to go. We got a match holding over it, and we'll see what kind of a season we get. But something we always like to point out is even though that we're talking about there being an extremely busy season, it only takes one storm to make it a bad season if it hits where you are. And I'll give you an example. So in the 2010 Atlantic hurricane season, there were 19 named storms. So this is tied for the 3rd busiest season on record. Of those 19 named storms, only 2 made landfall in the U.S. And of those landfalls, they were both very weak tropical systems. So no one really remembers the 2010 season. In 1992, we only had 7 storms. That is half the average number that we see in a usual season. 2 of those storms also made landfall here in the U.S. One was a very weak tropical storm that went up into New England. The other was Hurricane Andrew, which crossed South Florida. And I'm sure that if you know anyone from South Florida, they will not tell you that 1992 was a good hurricane season. It was the worst they ever saw. So just remember that. No matter how this season turns out, it only takes that one storm coming to us to make it a bad one. What you'll see right here is the Global Tropical Hurricane Outlook. This is given to us by the Climate Prediction Center. It's kind of a long-range look to see what we think is going to happen hurricane-wise in the near future. So 2 and 3 weeks out, the Atlantic is looking very busy, but that would be normal. We are entering peak hurricane season right now. Cabo Verde hurricanes, or Cape Verde, depending on what you've heard before in the past, are really starting to kick off with weather coming out of Africa. So I would expect it to be busy going forward for the next few weeks. We talked about Ernesto. Again, this should not be a problem here for us in Florida. However, folks in Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands might see some impacts out of this. So if you have any family or friends down there, keep them in your thoughts. And the folks in Bermuda could definitely see a hit out of this as well. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit. That's what we're looking for in the season, what's actually going to happen. Let's talk about how we're going to get ready for that. So the first thing we always like to talk about is personal preparedness. And this may sound a little bit weird because it's like, well, we're an entity, we're a government agency, why are we worried about what people do? Well, if you're not ready at home, you're not going to feel comfortable to come here and give your time to get the school district ready. So we always want to have people ready to deal with things at home, and then that way that'll make it easier for them to help us get the district ready. Definitely know what your risk is. Know if you live in an area that floods, if you live in a home that is manufactured, not permanently anchored to the ground, not a good place to be in a hurricane, you know that you have to evacuate. Have a plan if you need to evacuate. Where are you going to go? Also, one of the things that a lot of people don't think about early in the season is make sure you review your documents that you have. Do you know where your birth certificates are, your passports, all that kind of thing? Have you updated your insurance? This is all stuff to make sure that's done pre-season to make sure that you're ready if a storm does indeed impact you. Another thing that we always talk about too is know your neighbors. It is a community. We're a village here. So, make sure you know your neighbors. Those are going to be the people that are going to help you out and the folks that you can help out the easiest as soon as the storm has passed. All right, so preparing our schools and administrative sites. So things that we do pre-season, we make sure we've got all our contacts up to date. So when we need to call someone, we know that we're going to be able to get them. We make sure that employees are briefed on their contingency plans for their particular department or office. Making sure that all work orders are taken care of, fixing any leaks that you might have, windows, doors, things like that. And making sure you have any kind of specialty things on hand that you might need that are specific to your work function that wouldn't be easy to get if a storm passed the area. Protective measures before a storm. So this is the stuff that we do right before a storm is going to impact. We make sure that any loose items are moved inside. So when you see those planters outside schools, signs, things like that, all that needs to be secured or brought in because that just becomes a missile when a storm actually hits us. Make sure that all windows and doors are secured, drains are cleared. That keeps flooding from backing up into buildings. We make sure the garbage is emptied. We've got all our construction sites secured. And we sandbag any areas that we do know where we get water will come into buildings. There are also some things that are done that are function specific to the various departments across the district, and we have one example here. This is what it looks like at Pine Hills when they get the buses ready for a storm coming in. So what they do is they take the oldest buses, they put them on the outside, because obviously if we're going to lose something, we'd rather lose an old one and not a new one. Once everything is ordered, and that takes about 4 hours to do. They'll leave it like that through the storm, come back after the storm, and in about 2 hours they can have all that turned back around just to normal, ready to go. I believe you're looking at about 400 buses right there, if I remember correctly. I did count that a while ago, but that picture is hard on the eyes if you try to count all the buses. All right, so what are some things specifically that the Office of Emergency Management does to get ready for storms? Well, we monitor tropical weather conditions daily throughout hurricane season. We'll provide email updates to staff to make sure that they know that a storm is ready. As storms start to get closer, we'll start to move into more formal briefings. We'll keep our principals and assistant principals notified of anything going on. We always keep our district incident management team up to date on what is happening. And we also keep the cabinet brief, so we have our decision makers in the loop on what threats are facing us. The last thing we'll do as a storm gets near is we'll actually activate the Emergency Coordination Center. That is where we coordinate the district's response to any type of events like a hurricane that might impact us. A lot of that is dependent on our district incident management team, so that is composed of functions across the district who are going to come in and lend their expertise to us to be able to respond to and recover from a storm. So what are some things we do beyond that? We don't just sit around when it isn't hurricane season going, oh, yay, we got another 180 days before we got to do anything. No, we're working all year. So we are actually providing training on tropical weather throughout the off-season. We do that for internal staff, we do that for our folks out at the schools, and we actually work together for external partners as well on some of that. We coordinate our hurricane response and recovery planning with all our internal folks and external groups. And finally, we also attend a number of national conferences to include the National Hurricane Conference and the Governor's Hurricane Conference. That gives us the ability to actually sit, talk to these folks who are the experts in this field, and then we learn from folks who did get hit by hurricanes last year that we might not have had impact us. So we can take what their problems were and make corrections now before we also face them. It's a very interesting group of folks that you meet there. The gentleman who actually does the long-range hurricane forecasts, I had lunch with this year at the National Hurricane Conference. So it's really neat to get that perspective from people to see what they're thinking. So we do not do this alone. This is not something that happens in a vacuum. We are well connected throughout the community in terms of who we coordinate our hurricane response operations with and our preparedness. Two main partners are Orange County Emergency Management and the City of Orlando Emergency Management. You can see there all the fire folks who are in the area we coordinate with, City of Orlando, Orange County government proper. We also work with FDOE through the Office of Safe Schools to keep them advised of what we're doing here to get ready for a storm and find out what's happening at other schools around the state. The Florida Division of Emergency Management we participate with on their calls. And also UCF and Valencia, just to make sure that we're kind of coordinating, hey, what are you doing? When are you closing down? When are you opening up? And things like that. And finally, one of our biggest partners, as Lou pointed out earlier, is the National Weather Service. These are the experts. They are the folks who we take all the guidance from when it comes to when are we going to see impacts, how severe are those impacts going to be, and what do we need to do to make sure that we are prepared for them. So that concludes my briefing today. I always like to just remind everybody, there's only 109 more days to go, so we just got to make it through November the 30th, and then we get a break for 180 days. I'd be happy to take any questions that y'all might have at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation, Dr. Vasquez.
I do want to take a moment to just recognize this incredible team. Joe is in the back. Jill Silvestris heads up this wonderful group of talented and committed individuals. Lou and Bob, we just love spending time with them. They make you feel comfortable, but they are incredibly talented. The work that they do, the coordination is just amazing when they activate the center and you go in and you see the school reps, you see district reps, their coordination with the different municipalities, and it's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and we are so appreciative of all that you do to keep us, our students, and our families safe. So thank you. Members of the board, we are ready to listen to your comments and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Member Byrd.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you for this presentation. It's always a good comfort when I hear from your team because, in fact, I was just talking to the superintendent today about your team and about what a good job that you do every day. And this is what's really amazing is that the whole storm preparedness is just one little piece of the safety and emergency management that you all do. And it's a huge piece. When you look at this and all that goes into preparing for this storm season and making sure that our schools are ready and all of our buildings, that is a huge part of it. But then there's all these other areas that you all prepare us for. And I always feel like we've always been a step ahead of everyone when it comes to our safety and emergency management. And the fact that we have our own safety and emergency management department in our school district is remarkable. And that's why I believe we're always kind of a step ahead. I'm wondering if you can share with us, I know we did a whole presentation when we got the award for the storm, being the storm ready, but can you give a little brief kind of synopsis of what that entails and how we were recognized in that way?
Yes, so when you apply for the Storm Ready, it is an application that you go through, and the National Weather Service actually comes out. They have a set criteria to look and see, do you have plans to respond to severe weather? Have you conducted training on severe weather? Do you have your facility set up to handle severe weather? I know when you're walking around our building, if you go through the stairs, you might see tornado shelter signs. There's one right outside the door here. All that came out of our preparations for Storm Ready. So the Weather Service actually came out. We divided up the district. I think they went to 5 facilities, if I remember correctly. They came here, and 6 facilities counting here in 5 schools. And then we had a representation of high schools, middle schools, Magnolia, just different types of things so they could see the many different things that we do here in the district. Once they came through, they graded us on that. We were judged as acceptable, and then that's how we received the Storm Ready recognition. That is something that we actually renew every 3 years. We actually work with them throughout that time frame as part of the agreement as well. So they have been up to preparedness days the past 2 years and conducted training. They observed one of our tornado drills during the Severe Weather Awareness Week last year. And we actually have an invitation out to them to come up and see our new schools, just so they can kind of see this is what schools are looking like now and give them an idea of what that entails then to move that many students to safety in a quick period of time.
And you said that we are the only school?
We are currently the largest school in the nation, yes, that is district-wide recognized as Storm Ready.
That's phenomenal. And another example of how we're kind of always a step ahead. And the other example I'm thinking of is our reunification process that we just revamped, you all just revamped. But I remember when I was first elected to this school board, you all sharing that with me then. And I remember specifically in that meeting you saying, it's not required, but this is good practice, and and talking about how we were doing that, and now it's required, and we were already doing it. So I just wanted to share all of that because as a mom in this school district, it makes me feel so secure knowing that I've got this team that is so prepared for any kind of emergency, anything that could happen in one of our schools. So I really appreciate you guys and the work that you do. Thank you so much. And one final question, if it's okay. I still have time.
Certainly.
Can you just also share how and when we decide to close schools? Because that's a question I get every year.
So what I would like to say on that is we provide advice to the emergency policy group to actually do that. So I would actually turn that over to the superintendent if she would like to speak on that.
Thank you, Bob. So we really start to meet early on in the process. We get notifications when we activate the Executive Policy Group, or EPG. We start to have conversations. What's the risk factor? The data they bring to us is incredible. Sometimes we get like 3 different updates a day. I also reach out to the neighboring superintendents, see where they're landing, and then we try to make a decision as late as possible so that we are not closing schools and there's a rainbow the next day with sunshine. But we look at the data that's provided. A lot of it has to do with wind speeds and whether our buses are able to be on the road. I would say that's probably the number one factor that we look at, and then from there we look at the impact on the various parts, where it's coming. Are we going to have a direct hit? So it's a very coordinated effort that involves a lot of data, but the buses being able to be on our roads because of the wind speed, and it has to be, is it less than 60? Is it
35.
35
is the cutoff. And that's sustained winds too, not gusts, but sustained.
Yes. 16 mile per hour. We'll be flying. Magic school bus. So yeah, that's a great question, because you're right. We do get that and all the time. And then I just want to add in there, we also we get the question about how we decide on makeup days. And so we actually have enough instructional minutes in our calendar that we can actually lose up to 3 days without having to make up any days. And so if we go beyond the 3 days, what we've tried to do is collaborate. Board members also give us some of the feedback, and even though we have published dates, our families tend not to want to use some of those. This year we have published we just published the new calendar. And we also work with our 2 unions, CTA and OSPA, to talk about if maybe we want to do extended Wednesdays as opposed to losing one of the days. So we really do collaborate to try and come up with the best solution. But we have up to 3 days that we can afford to shut down schools before we have to actually look at makeup days.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. That was great information. Member Byrd, did you have another question? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just had a follow-up. That's such good information, and since we always get the question, and I always see it on social media, could we possibly, at the start of the storm season, put out a little, graphic on social media talking about like what happens or how we prepare for storms, as far as how do we decide when to shut a school or not? Maybe if they knew, because I try to always share with them that it's like you guys are meeting in the group every day, and it's not just a fly-by-night decision you guys make. It's very concentrated, and also the shelters play into it. Correct? We have to shut down if they need to use our schools as shelters, don't we?
It depends. I think we have had situations where we've had a shelter, and this, I think this is dating back quite a number of years, where the shelter was able to operate, and we still had the school because it was separated. But that also does play into the decision making. So we certainly can look at putting together maybe a decision tree that we can post on our website and post on social media, so our families understand a little bit better how we come to that conclusion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Vasquez. Thank you for this very interesting presentation. We really enjoyed it. And I wanted to just take a moment to thank all of our principals and our teachers and our educators and staff out there that leave their families, literally, when we have to open up a shelter, and they come to the shelter and they go above and beyond. If there's families in need at these shelters, they're doing clothing drives. I mean, it's just really heartwarming to see. And like I said, they're leaving their families to come open these shelters and take care of the people on our campuses. So much appreciated. I pray that we will not need to open up any shelters this season. I hope that Florida steers clear of any impending storm, and that even though it's not projected, it is a relatively quiet season. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Pomerini, do we have anyone who has come to speak to the school board on any of the items on the consent agenda?
No, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Then we are going to move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. I need a second. It moved by Member Castor-Dental, second by Member Gould. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The consent agenda has been approved. Next, we are going to hear from Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you. I'm going to start out my report today with Deputy Superintendent Bridget Williams providing an update on a project that we began last year that really has the potential to have a positive impact in our community, and specifically with our employees. Bridget is leading up the working group that is looking at attainable housing. We know that in Central Florida, housing cost has skyrocketed. Many of our employees are having to live with others in order to afford the rent, and we see that there's no end in sight to that high cost. And so as a result of that, we've started to look at possibilities to partner and look at attainable housing. And there was no one better to take that on than our own Bridget Williams. We all know her passion for community and civic engagement. We also know that she has a heart that focuses on helping others. And so, Dr. Williams, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Before we start with Dr. Williams, I forgot to ask Member Felder if she voted for the consent agenda. Member Felder?
Yeah, I did say yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure we have it for the record.
Hello? Yeah.
Thank you, Member Felder. So let the record reflect that it was unanimous with all board members present, and when the chair gets back up here, we'll record her vote as well. Thank you. Please continue.
Good evening, Vice Chair Gallo, Superintendent Vasquez, and the board. I will discuss attainable, affordable housing options for Orange County Public Schools employees. The goal and desire is to partner with community stakeholders to access existing attainable workforce housing opportunities. In addition, construct residential developments intended for OCPS employees and provide the associated wraparound services. I've been talking and meeting with several organizations that specialize in designing and building attainable, affordable workforce housing and mixed-use development. In addition, I reached out to Tabitha, who is the Chief Intergovernmental Affairs and Community Engagement Officer with Miami-Dade Public Schools. They started the process of providing attainable, affordable housing for their employees by working with the City of Miami, various developers, and Miami-Dade County Public Housing Authority back in 2019. Tabitha provided a lot of insight into the process. In fact, I talked with her this afternoon, and they're in the final process of stages of providing housing for their employees. That process is somewhat of a long-term process. They started in 2019. Options for attainable, affordable housing. There are 3 options that I've listed. 1, I'm presently working with legal and looking at various sites throughout the district that can be used to build attainable, affordable housing for OCPS employees. The second option, working side by side with agencies or organizations, the city, the county, that are presently providing affordable and workforce housing. I have a few examples of attainable, affordable housing options that are on the next slide. Third option, partner with the Orlando Housing Authority and pilot Moving to Work. I'm saying that again, Moving to Work, a program for OCPS employees. Another option, if approved, that would be available to OCPS employees August of 2025. I'm researching various options, short and long term, for our employees. I just mentioned a few options. Did I go to the next one? I just mentioned a few options. I made a few site visits to several locations that provide attainable, affordable workforce housing and mixed-use development. At 2 locations, Palm Gardens, which is on Colonial Drive, right down the street, and Backlot in Kissimmee, they completely gutted out a hotel and created multi-family apartments. The Palm Gardens on Colonial, the monthly cost is $800 per month. That includes rent, utilities, water, Wi-Fi. In the back of Palm Gardens, which is on Colonial, they're in the process of renovating 40 additional units. After the tour, of course, I called the commissioner, Commissioner Stewart, and Commissioner Bakari Burns, and we met last week. My ask, if it is at all possible for OCPS employees to be granted priority, I guaranteed the opportunity through MOUs, at least to provide OCPS with 40 units. In fact, we have a few employees that are presently staying at Palm Gardens. Wellington Park is located in the Apopkas and is privately held real estate development and management company specializing in multifamily affordable workforce housing. That's another option. Somerset Landing is a development in Sanford that was funded by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'm working on setting up dates for those on the school board and our advisory board, and I'll get to that earlier, to tour the facility. We're researching and looking into a very unique partnership with the Orlando Housing Authority that is actually funded by HUD. In addition, a trip to Miami, we can take the Bright Line and visit the sites that they have down in Miami public school system. They would love for us to see what they put in place and talk about the process. Moving to work. This is one of the options that I just talked about. I'm researching and trying to take advantage, once again, of every opportunity that is available for affordable housing for OCPS employees, short and long term. Short and long term. The Orlando Housing Authority, under the direction of Ms. Bryant, who's president and CEO, and we're in the process of working on a pilot program. This will be the first that has ever been done, and it's called Moving to Work. That would allow OCPS employees to receive what is called a voucher that covers the cost of housing, and of course it's based on your income and your family size. I would like to start with these schools. Those in the Lake Man area, which is near Washington Shores, and Lorna Doone, which is near the Jones High School area. That would cover Carver, Eccleston, Catalina, Rock Lake, Memorial, and Jones. This will allow the principals at these select sites, when hiring, are trying to retain top talent, the opportunity to be able to afford or offer affordable housing near the school where they work. The goal is that the employee will actually be in a position to purchase long-term a home in that area. So we provide them with the voucher. that will pay for the cost of their housing. The goal is for that employee to work at one of the select schools and eventually be in a position to where they can buy a home in that community. That's the long-term goal of HUD. My goal is to provide housing for our employees, period. In addition to that, HUD, or the Orlando Housing Authority, has been asked to go where they've never gone before. Once again, this is a pilot. If this is approved, we're looking at expanding, and you're may ask why, to Windermere and Lake Nona. If you think about it, the issue's a little bit different. I wonder how many employees that work in the Windermere area or the Lake Nona area live near the school. What they will do, what Ms. Bryant will do, is work with the private companies that are building apartments in those areas and put together an agreement that will provide OCPS employees that work at those select schools in the Windermere and Lake Nona area vouchers for our employees. So if the rent is $3,000 per month for a one-bedroom apartment, and that's about right, they will cover the cost of half of that. Once again, this will allow the employees to live near where they work. Because if not, if our employees end up having to live in another district, eventually they will work there. Lake County, some other district, because they can afford to live there, eventually that's where they will go to work. Ms. Bryant is really working with us on this. And once again, this is a pilot. And she, and she has actually asked if we could pilot this with her. And I would like to say yes. This is a win-win for Orange County Public Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Was that your conclusion, or you got more?
No, ma'am. If you don't mind, I have one more slide. Is that okay with you?
Sorry, you look like you were done. Go ahead.
No, not yet. The next is the advisory board that I will be working with. Oh, go ahead. I'm good.
She couldn't wait to clap.
I'm
yes.
good. And I'll skip the slide here.
Meeting adjourned. Yeah.
And the next steps, we meet with the advisory board and set up site visits. And I would like to give you an additional board update, December 2024. By then, I will know whether or not hopefully, HUD has accepted our application or the addendum to the application. And that will allow us, August of 2025, to be able to offer our OCPS employees an option quickly. Like I said, I'm looking at short and long-term options for our employees. We've got to do something. And if Ms. Bryant, who is CEO and president, is willing to work with us, I would like to move forward with that. Now, I am done. Thank you.
All right, now we can. All right, not so fast.
Okay.
In the word, who says that? Who's the, yes, that's it, Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friend. All right, we have some questions or comments, starting with Member Gould.
This is fantastic. I love the short-term opportunities here. There were some things that I think, I know we're at the very beginning of this, but both Member Gallo and I brought back a presentation and some models in some other areas that included partnering with the local habitats, building on the properties, looking at multifamily, and then single-family homes where there's a 5-year window for employees to stay, and actually half of their rent is put away with the idea that they would walk out with escrow for a home of their own. And so those cycle. So I would like us to make sure we don't lose that model, because we have a very robust and very friendly habitat in the region, multiples of them, and I think that could work. And especially in some of those neighboring communities to the Lake Nona and even right in the heart of Windermere zip code, that could work with some of the sites we might have available. The second is there are a couple of, and I know you're getting them through the through the partnership with HUD and the Housing Authority. But there's a couple of developers who live here that specialize in attainable and affordable housing, and then there's some that they are working with, obviously through Pecan and Disney and Universal and all of those. So I think there's more potential partners out there than you can imagine. And of course, with the statutory changes, I think some who were not traditionally as friendly to attainable, some attainable, and especially with the voucher, that could be very, very attractive even to traditional multifamily and single family owners as they're building like townhouses and things to be a next entry point. So very exciting. Thank you for taking the lead on this. I'm in favor of anything that we can do to move this forward by 110%. Let me know how I can help.
Thank you.
All right. Member Ferrant.
Losing my notes here. Thank you so much for going and figuring all of this out, getting all the information. I'm sure it was a lot of phone calls and a lot of work. I know that we've been talking about this for a while, trying to figure out how we can help our teachers and just add another benefit for our teachers. So a couple questions. What will it cost for the district to do this?
At this point, for the short term, zero. That's why I met with both commissioners to ask, because they're already paid for. I'm just asking if they would allow OCPS employees, if you're in the process of gutting out and redoing 40 apartments, can we have 20? That's all I'm asking for. And I said it just like that. That's all I'm asking for, commissioners. And so we're looking at an MOU, or we're looking at some way that can happen. And also when I met with City Commissioner Bakari Burns, they are in the process of building another set of apartments that has already been paid for. And he and I are in the process of, before they even start building, putting together an agreement with him in his district. But I'm doing everything I can. This is zero cost to Orange County Public Schools. It's just providing our employees with housing that is near where they work.
I love it. Yeah. What will the requirements be for the employees who decide?
And that's why we are working through Ms. Bryant, HUD. They will determine that. That keeps us out of that. In fact, they did the same thing down in Miami. And working with the HUD, they have the requirements. They will work with our employees on that, and they will make sure that everything is in place. So we're out of that, which I agree with that.
Perfect. So we're just able to say, through this organization or over here at this location, there's several options for people to.
There are options for our employees. That is correct. That's what I'm trying to do.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Vice Chair Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is great news. I was on a couple of calls that Bridget had when she was working her magic, trying to get some of the vouchers put towards our teachers and our educators, our professional staff. So this is so needed. Orlando is so expensive, and it's just getting more and more expensive day by day with the inflation. In conjunction with what we're planning to do with what you're working on now, long term, I know Pam had mentioned the presentation that we saw when we were at COSPA. And I know that we've talked about like that model, but that model takes years in the making. So I really appreciate the sense of urgency that you have brought to get this done so much quicker. But we are still planning on looking into some of those options, as well as like property that we could possibly build.
In fact, I'm working with our legal department.
Okay.
And we are looking at various sites. But because when I realized that is not something that can occur this year or next year, that's when I started making phone calls. And you were on those.
Yeah. That's why we love you, Dr. Williams. This is why we gave you a standing ovation.
Before you were finished.
Yeah, even before you're finished. No, seriously, I couldn't be more excited about this program and the benefits to our employees. I know in the beginning, it's every little bit helps. I know we're looking at 40, but to those 40 employees, that will mean the world.
And that's just one site.
Yeah.
That's one side.
Yeah, and that's fabulous. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
it's my pleasure to be a part of this. Like I'm excited.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Absolutely. Member Byrd.
Thank you. I too am thrilled by this, and I'm going to give a little commentary first before I share my comments on this. But and this is the same feeling I had when we saw the legislators that spoke at FSBA. We had at our conference, we had 3 legislators there, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, and they all shared that one of their priorities this next coming legislative session would be, or no, they did not say one of their priorities. I'm sorry. They said we are working to encourage school districts to work on attainable housing, work with your businesses in your area to, car dealerships to help provide affordable car leases for their employees. And they were saying all of this, and I remember when that was done, I was thinking to myself, or we could pay teachers and our support staff and our education and give more money to our education system in the state. So that's my little commentary first. It's a sad state of affairs that this is where we're at, but I am so darn thankful for your work in this, the superintendent's openness to explore this option. I think she did not pick a more perfect person to do this because of your relationships in this community. We had already a huge head start on this just by you being able to pick up the phone with all of your relationships and have these conversations. So I'm extremely thankful for you for your work already that you've done on this. I love that we've got a short-term vision and a long-term vision. I'm really excited about the long-term prospects and some of the discussions that we've had already. I'm excited to be a part of this whole process. And I agree. Anything that I can do to help, I'm all in. Thank you.
Thank you.
General Counsel?
I'm queuing in for Member Felder.
Oh, thank you. Member Felder.
Yes, thank you. Deputy Superintendent Dr. Williams, thank you for your report. I can see that you have done quite a bit of extensive research with Vivian Bryan, who's the director of Orlando Housing, to try to come up with some thoughts and ideas about trying to help those persons who are interested in working in our district and being able to afford to live in Orlando. However, I do have some reservations when I listen to the city of Orlando talk about affordable and attainable housing. What exactly does that mean, and what is the extension of that? Because we do have some areas in the Paramount area that were supposedly, there was instances of being attainable and affordable, and people are struggling to stay there because the rent is going up, and of course it's privately owned. So you can't control how a leasing company deals with their rent or their leasing because they own it. The other point that I make, you mentioned some areas in the Palm Garden area, I think near Colonial, and some other areas that employees for OCPS will have the opportunity to stay. And then you mentioned the Washington Shores, Lakeland area. My concern with that is that that area is where I live, and it is historical. And my concern is that if the Orlando Housing Authority, if they're coming in, are they going to gut up this community that's been here for since the 40s? What are they going to do? Who is going to be left out of housing, or whose community is going to be gutted or destroyed? And maybe I don't have all of the information. I'm so sorry that I'm not there, but I am dealing with a serious medical issue here. But this is going to cause me to get there faster. I am concerned that when the city of Orlando talks about attainable and affordable housing, what exactly does that mean? And I heard you say something about short-term, long-term, And sometimes things like this, it does take planning. You can't hurry up and do a lot of this. However, on the upside, I am happy that those persons who want to come to Orlando, they can afford to come, because housing here is atrocious. People just cannot afford to stay here. And it's good that we as a district are trying to partner, help people come here and be able to afford to live here. But I need you to know that I have reservations, especially when you're talking about the historic Washington Shores area and what you're doing in terms of talking about affordable and attainable. I need to go on record that I have concerns about that. I thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Member Felder. Dr. Williams.
In fact, the board member Felder, I mentioned the Palms. That's already in place. That's off of Colonial, and we already have employees that live there. In the back of the Palms, and in fact, when you return, I can take you over there, and that's why it would be great for the board to actually tour the sites that I'm referring to. Everything's in place. The funding is already there.
Okay.
All I'm asking them to do, because in the back of the Palms, there are 40 units that they're in the process of tearing down and rebuilding. My ask is just for 20. Bakari Burns, City Commissioner Bakari Burns, when I met with him, they're in the process of building affordable housing off of it's near Piedmont, and I can take you there also. I'm asking for the same thing. If they're building 80 units, I'm asking for 40. So it's an ask. And I truly believe that with the relationship that, in fact, you and I have with both, I think we can make that happen. So I'm not looking at anything that hasn't already been built and already been funded. I'm asking them to include OCPS in what's already there.
Okay. All right, but I just needed to register my thoughts and my concerns, and I would be happy to go over and ride. Is that, when you say Piedmont, is that area where the Mabel Butler housing area is over in Washington Park? Is that what you're talking about?
Near there. Correct. Yes. In fact, I will show you the plans. I'll bring them to your house.
Is that the area?
I'll bring them to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking. Yes. Yeah. Bakari's City Commissioner secured funding for that. So it's already paid for.
Yeah, that's already there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I look forward to the conversation, Dr. Bridget, and with with Commissioner Burns and Vivian.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, and hope you feel better. Thank you.
Member Felder, thank you.
I do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for participating. And we'll definitely make sure you have detailed information on that. Glad to hear your concern. Member Kester-Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Williams. I appreciate the different targeted areas. One, to target those hard-to-fill schools.
Correct.
And then talking about areas like Lake Nona where people can't afford to live in where they teach.
Correct.
So I commend you for looking for solutions to that. And like Member Byrd mentioned, it's great to hear others, like legislators, say this is a great idea to get some attainable housing, but they're the ones who can actually give us more money for teachers to afford housing without relying on the housing authority. But I think it's so great that you have been able to pull in your contacts and try to wrap your arms around this. We've had these discussions now for a long time, but this is the first time I've heard it really take shape. And it's not just one solution you're looking at in so many different layers and ways to help solve this problem. I have been following some different teachers in Orange County that are having trouble making ends meet and are considering leaving the field, leaving the state, and we are in no position to lose any teachers. So anything that we can do to help offset their costs and is going to be it's helpful to the individual teachers and employees, but what a statement it makes to the others as well, that we are looking for ways to help you and your family. So this is great. I think it will really help, and I look forward to seeing how it progresses. And I'm sorry that I won't be here to see it all come to fruition, but I'm not going to be far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Castrodano. Member Gould.
Idea, especially since the legislature, I think, is beginning to think about how they can help. They haven't committed anything, but they actually have a trust fund called the Sadowski Trust Fund that has been traditionally rated. If they don't rate it this year, it'll have $448 million in it. And they did not rate it last year. So that may be something that we could look at for some pilots to go the short term and the longer term route. Maybe even ask them. It's for creating, but providing funding. And for attainable housing. So maybe we follow the HUD voucher model and ask them for that. Traditionally, I think it's used mostly for capital. But I think any and all short and long term are essential, and they are encouraging us to do it. So they could put some money and maybe even some special appropriations to match it.
I met with
so the Sadowski Fund in its whole right now. So we should go after it.
Thank you. I met with Congressman Frost.
This is state, not
last
fed.
week. Yeah, he was saying that there's some federal dollars there also.
There too, right.
And they're willing to write a letter of support for Orange County Public Schools to receive whatever funding that is there.
Fantastic.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I think we'll get tremendous support, especially if we can be on the early wave of this. And then another idea for you, only because there's a couple of large property malls that have struggled, and they are going through redevelopment in very unique ways. The West Oaks Mall in particular, where we house, the tag office and the e-pass customer service, our expressway authority. Those would be prime locations, and while they're owned by private entities, they work very closely with those municipal partners. And I think working and partnering with like a COE and again the city of Orlando around Florida Mall, that's the kind of workforce, and then everything's close to them too, right? It's everything is close to them. Groceries close, buses are close, everything's close, and that makes a difference. Just like on Highway or on Orange Blossom.
Right.
So that same model, that is just the perfect, and the one in Kissimmee also is close to public transportation. So I think when we can look at, we're going to need a variety, but when we get near Lake Nona and we get near Windermere, there is no public transportation.
No.
There's zero public transportation.
That is correct. That's
So
why we
it's,
need
as much as we can do that. And maybe it would speed up Sunrail to come west then. I would like that. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that closes out our discussion. The only thing I think deputy superintendent is a lofty title and everything. You were chief of staff before. I think chief of collaboration. Right? Chief collaborator. There you go. Our chief collaborator.
That doesn't mean
wonderful
a new
job.
office.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
I said that doesn't mean a new office.
She's not getting a new office? Is that what you said? Okay.
Getting a new office?
She's not getting a new office. She's got a great office. She wants a new office? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Williams. She's on her way to another meeting as well.
Okay.
And I just have one additional comment. So what a great start to the school year. Yesterday we were out visiting schools. Vic, if you don't mind sharing some of the pictures as I'm talking. It was incredible to see our teachers Just so excited greeting our students, their classrooms, just bright and welcoming. Parents excited to be back as well. And it was so evident that our teachers had been working hard, our administrators and support staff as well. I do want to give a great shout out to our teams. As you know, we had 2 schools that were right there under the wire. And I want to thank the team because they really pulled it off, and especially the teams at the schools that were ready to dig in.
Wow. Oh my gosh, look at this
Right
action
away.
shot. Whoa, whoa, go back, go back. Oh, we
There's
go from
Coco. Yeah, Coco is with
Coco.
us. There we go.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh.
I also want to say that our fill rate this year is just a little bit, number of vacancies is just a little bit over 100. A year ago, we were over 235. And I'm so pleased to say that every one of those vacancies was filled by either a substitute from Kelly Subs, some of the resource personnel at the schools, and it was a great start. Thank you to everyone that helped make yesterday happen. It was just great, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal year.
Oh, these pictures are just priceless. Okay, so while we're thanking Bridget for her wonderful work, kudos for keeping her. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I think I was not on the board for more than a couple months when I found out she would be retiring, and I was like, oh my gosh, this can't happen. She's an icon in the community. You know, she really is. I've known her for many, many years outside of this. So it was going to be such a huge loss. And you were able to convince her to stay. And she's in the perfect role. You brought Mike Armbruster back. I mean, you probably saw me. I wanted to go back and say hello to Clinton and Ron for a minute, but while I was back there, I couldn't resist the opportunity to just spend a few minutes with your incredible team. And they're just so good. They're such a joy to work with. They're incredibly competent and totally dedicated. I mean, I don't know how anybody could put together a better team. So thank you for that. Yeah, right? Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I keep saying I'm not running again, and I'm not running again. But the only thing that makes that hard is just the incredible people that we get to work with and how important the mission is. So on that note, Member Byrd, and then we're going to, I think, the consent agenda. No? Oh, you did?
We already did. You got to record your vote.
Oh, aye?
Thank you.
Does that count?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Member Byrd. Okay. Wow. Okay. Then that takes us to superintendent report.
Yes, that was
Oh. Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I already took
yeah.
care of
That's
that.
what happens.
It's John.
Okay. Did we hear from him? That comes in?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Mr. Palmerini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see that it was a while to get to me, that everybody else was going to get in there first, but I understand that. It's
Yeah.
no problem. Just wanted to alert you guys, in light of last week where you all demonstrated confidence in me and have decided to name me to this position, I wanted to let you know where some of my duties were going within the office, just so you had a point of contact. And of
Are we
course,
going to have a slideshow?
no, you are
Oh, okay.
not. No. I'm just making sure I have it all.
Oh, okay. I
So,
saw you. Yeah.
Vivian Kokotis, who you see down here, by the way, we're going to have rotating lawyers, so everybody in the office is going to take the seat next to Mike, so he can have a new friend every meeting, which will be good for him. Vivian is going to be taking over my duties as Title IX appeals officer, so she will be handling that going forward. Kashara Cowens won the lottery. She will be taking over my duties with labor and employment going forward. I will obviously be there to help her going through some of this, but she's outstanding. She's a quick study, and she will do great work going forward. But she will be the primary point of contact on that. Sarah Kopesky will be taking over my duties dealing with school choice services and charter schools, so she will be handling those matters going forward. Alkedia Haynes, our new staff attorney, I say new, it's been 6 months now. She'll be taking over safety and emergency management for Kashara, and she will also be getting athletics from me. So I'm going to send out a memo that summarizes all of this and all of our areas of primary responsibility tomorrow, but I wanted to give you the preview tonight. I will be maintaining issues that deal with the First Amendment, library, media materials, and LGBTQ issues. Those have a tendency to be somewhat controversial, and I think that should be my responsibility to deal with going forward. So that will continue to be on my plate that way. So, and one last thing, I did go to schools yesterday, and I went to see 6 of them. I did Apopka High, both Wolf Lakes, Zellwood Elementary, Kelly Park K-8, and Apopka Middle. And it was just everything the superintendent was true, seeing all of those kids happy to be there, excited on the first day, except for my daughter. When I tried to get a selfie, she said, "Dad, you're stressing me out." So that's just what happens. And but it was especially humbling to go back to Zellwood, Apopka Middle, Apopka High, my alma maters, and now knowing I'm the general counsel of this school board, it is an amazing thing to go back to the place where it all started. And I had a real sense of pride doing it. So I just wanted to let you all know that was my first day yesterday, and that's it for me.
That's awesome. I can't even imagine what that feels like. I just, I think about where I went to school, and the idea of like being able to go back and know what my role is, I just can't even imagine that.
By the way, there may or may not be pictures of me as a child going to those schools.
Okay. Well,
just picture more hair and more smiles.
More hair and what? More smiles? All right, he's learning to smile. It's a process. Just kidding, John. Okay, then Chair Gould.
Thank you, Chair Jacobs. We had a communications committee meeting today, and it was again kind of part 2 of really trying to put some structure around our recognitions and proclamations. We made a lot of progress today and came up with a criteria of how we will handle them. Make sure that we have opportunity to recognize all of our wonderful partners, organizations, and causes in the community, and still make proclamations very special and really elevate them a little bit better. And so stay tuned on the minutes. We'll attach those to the next meeting. And where we left it was staff was going to try to structure a final approach to this that we could then come back and edit as in the committee, and then we'll finalize it and roll it out.
Awesome. Okay. Member Byrd? Okay. Yeah, we are, but I wasn't sure if this was left over before. Go ahead. No, that's fine. Absolutely. Member Byrd.
Thank you. I just wanted to share a couple things about yesterday, but before I do that, I wanted to just give a quick shout out to our teams who worked with OSPA and got that MOU signed for our bonus for our bus drivers this week.
Including OSPA's leader.
Yes, including Mr. Pollard, OSPA's leader. I was looking at him. He knew I was talking about him.
Okay, what I want I want the world to know we're talking about.
Yes. My good friend, Mr. Pollard over there. Yes, I'm so pleased with that. And it's really quite an impressive bonus. And we have a great bonus structure set up for recruiting bus drivers, and I'm so proud of the district for your work on that. It's an issue that we definitely have to take care of, and I'm glad that it's a priority for everyone. On that note, I started my day yesterday at 5 in the morning at the Apopka Bus Depot with the mayor, again, handing out donuts and coffee and orange juice for our bus drivers. And we have such a good time doing it. We do it every year. And the thing that always amazes me about doing that is that it's so dark and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. And these bus drivers have a bounce in their step. They are so excited to get back to work and see their kids again. And I talked to so many of them, and, how many years have you been with us? 14 years. Or one of them, it was her first day. She was a monitor for many years, and she became a bus driver, and it was her first day driving. So it's just so great talking to them, but they're so excited to get back to work and see their kids. And one of them said, I said, boy, you must love it. I think she's been driving for 16 years with us. I said, you must love it. She goes, you have to love it to do it. And I said, but then she joked and she said, yes, I do. But they just love their job. They love their kids. They have, at one point we had one bus that had a mechanical problem, so they had to move equipment from it. And when I asked what equipment, the director there was sharing with me a whole slew of all this equipment that happened to be in this bus for individual children on that route that they have to pick up that have certain needs that are in their IEP, or they even shared, sometimes they have infant car seats because they transport moms with their infants, which is something that, all these things you don't think about. And these bus drivers came, the week before, and they make sure they have all the things that they need for the kids that they pick up on their bus every day. And they love what they do, and they're so important to the work we do here. So I was honored to be able to I always love to be able to spend that time with them. And I just wanted to give them a shout out and thank them for the first day, for getting our kids to and from school. And I know it's hard and it's stressful when we're short on drivers, and they have to all work it out amongst themselves, and they do a great job. But the Apopka Depot only is down 3 drivers, and they had all the routes covered and yesterday, and everything was good. I mean, it was just such a positive thing, and I had a great day yesterday too. And after that, I went to Wheatley. We do the big DJ and cheering in the kids every year when they come in, and just the smiling faces. It was just a great positive day. I think we had a great first day, so thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Member Ferrant.
Okay. I just wanted to touch base. I know we've had a lot of different things, from hurricanes to affordable housing and first day of school and whatnot, but I really wanted to kind of circle back to the education, and I know we are focusing a lot on the science of reading, and I want to just make sure that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we don't lose yet another group of kids that are kind of slipping through the cracks. So I just want to make sure we're doing everything that we can. One thing that I've heard in the community as I'm out, maybe even just talking with teachers or whatnot, our one OCPS kind of motto that we have, which I love, and I think it's amazing how it's bringing our community together. It's showing there's unity, that what we expect or do at one school, we expect or at another school in that sense. But I think we also need to see that not all of our schools or students are on the same, maybe the academic achievement, or maybe there's not that same support that one school might have that another may not have. And so I think I would love to see where we have that unity, but we also have maybe a little bit of autonomy in the schools, where if a school sees that something isn't working or they need that extra help, that they could bring something else in to kind of have that backup. I know that this last week we we partner with RCF, for anybody watching, that's Read Charitable Foundation, which is an incredible organization that's really helping train teachers and help them with, put kind of like tools in their tool belt to help kids know how to read and get that, the phonetic awareness and phonemic awareness, whatever it is. I'm learning all my little like lingo for this. And kind of moving away, which is the whole science of reading. And I know that, Dr. Vasquez, you're very much into wanting to make sure that we get on board with the science of reading, helping our teachers as much as we can, giving them the tools, which I think you've done a great job of, providing all the different, I know we use all different models, which I'm not going to try to name them all because I know, not models, but resources, thank you. But at the same time, I know, okay, we've done away with we had 4 model schools, and that we've done away with the model schools, which from speaking in the, with those different schools, some maybe are okay with it going away because they felt maybe a little stressed, and others are like, wait, I really enjoyed having that, the model school where they have the guidance of RCF, where they come in, it's a huge support, and it's all free to the district, which is incredible, because they're a nonprofit. And so what I kind of want to see is how can we maybe try to work, instead of just saying none at all, is there a way to see, okay, talk to the teachers and say, is this working? Are you feeling like this is helpful? Maybe there's a way, maybe it's not the strict model school, because I know part of the MOU that's going through it, there's some things that maybe don't align perfectly with the union, so we want to make sure everything's, but how can we come together, the district and Read Charitable, to see what is a system that we could come together and work together towards, because we're seeing huge results like in Zellwood and other schools like Silver and others where when they've been trained, and I know you love the training, so I'm all about that, and I know we want to continue that, but having maybe a little more support for certain schools that really are struggling to get our readers back on grade level.
Ma'am, thank you. So I want to clarify, the MOU with the model schools, it's not a problem with the union. There are several concerns that we have. Number one, that they require that we only use their materials, and their materials are not research-based. They also require that teachers have to participate in planning. They have to submit lesson plan reviews. And some of those things we do not impose upon our teachers. And I want to make it clear, we have not said we weren't going forward. We started this conversation at the end of May. We were waiting for the Read Foundation to submit back to us their program requirements, of which they stated at that May meeting that we had to use their resources. This team had concerns about that because the statute clearly states you have to use research-based materials, and the only exception is if we've exhausted all other efforts to do so. We do not tell our teachers that they can only use X materials. In fact, that's something that the CTA has had concerns about, not giving them autonomy, about giving them choice in what they're using. And so at this stage, when we received their final MOU, I think we received it last week, maybe early this week, recently, it included those stipulations. What we love the training. We think it's incredible training. We are at a point where we don't feel that we can sign an MOU that has those stipulations, simply because we don't ask that of teachers with anything else. We certainly would love to continue to be able to partner with them in the area of professional development, maybe take a look at a tiered approach to professional development for those teachers that want to take advantage of that. We also partner with the Lassinger Center to provide training for us. Our own teams are doing training. And so I think that would be a way where we can continue to benefit from their philanthropy and the training so that we have as many teachers trained, in the science of reading.
Can I do a follow-up?
Go ahead, please.
I just want to make sure that we're continuing the progress. So I don't know how that works where you're speaking with them or whatnot, but I just want to make sure that we're, if, for instance, like let's say the model school, it maybe doesn't work in a public school setting. Maybe that works more in a private school setting or whatnot. We've seen it work in some of the schools and it worked very well. But at the same time, I think if that doesn't work, how can we, it's free. And how can we use their resources to really help our teachers? Now, I know that the training is not free. That's $350 if they're just getting trained. But is there a different system maybe that isn't as maybe intense as the model school would be, that could really help support some of our really struggling schools that when we look at Zellwood, they went from a D to an A. And I know I had been given maybe a comparison of another school in our district that they were comparing it to. However, that school had been an A for quite some time and doesn't maybe have the same population. So to me, that's comparing apples to oranges. But I do really think it's helped in Zellwood and other schools. And so I'd love to see how we can partner with them and not really like close that door in the sense, but maybe not just even do the training, but how can we partner with them to help us? Because we have so many students, and how can we partner? So I'd love to see that. You don't even have to answer that, but just to, that's my ask, is just that we continue to partner with them and just to see our kids reading and succeeding.
I definitely see a path around the area of training in PD.
All right. Thank you, Member. Member Caster-Dental, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that many people may have seen on the news some of the angst over the weekend with some of our schools not being ready to open on day one, but I know that a superintendent and the facilities department and the principal and the admin and the teachers and volunteers and parents all were working so hard to get their certificate of occupancy. But they were able to get that in time for the students to arrive on Monday, and that meant that they were working late nights, early mornings, and they were really pulling together. And I want to thank everyone who helped with Howard Middle School and getting them, making the students have a great first day. I know it was not easy because normally as a teacher, you want everything to be ready. And I'm sure they still didn't have everything ready, but they had the essentials, and the kids got there, had a great time. And I'm so grateful that we were able to do that. So thank you for everybody pitching in and making that happen. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Member Caster-Dental. Member Gould.
I just wanted to echo in the thanks, and my nostalgia journey is beginning. It kind of started with the last day of school, but yesterday when I walked away from Atwater, I just kind of had to run because it was getting a little emotional when I was out there for the last day of school as a school board member. And you don't have nostalgia if you don't love what you're doing and who you're doing it with. And we have had just phenomenal, dedicated human beings who just put their all into making our educational experience fantastic for our students. We have a lot of hurdles to jump over, but that never stops anybody for trying to make it and often succeeding the best experience they could ever have in an educational setting. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Member Gould. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple things are at the top of my mind. First, the Reed Foundation. I was happy that member Front brought it up. I want to say that how much I appreciate the Reed Foundation and all the hard work they've done. We started doing model schools, I want to say, a couple of years ago. It was under the leadership of John Wright. And I had met with Jen maybe 3 years ago. I think it was right after COVID, who started the Reed Foundation because her son, Reed, who the charitable foundation is named after, has dyslexia. And she knew with all her resources of trouble that she had trying to educate her child, that she didn't want any other student in Orange County or in the state of Florida, anywhere really, to have to kind of suffer what they did, trying to get him the supports and the resources he needed. And we did see growth. We saw some great results in Zellwood. I think Member Byrd can adhere to that. And we saw some great growth elsewhere. And from that, not from just the Reed Foundation and Orton Gillingham, but from that, the state started looking at literacy and started looking at the science of reading. And then the Untold Story on literacy came out. Sold a Story, thank you. Sold a Story came out, and then it became a buzz. And now we're all talking about literacy. So I'm hoping that we can work this thing out with the model schools. It worked very well when Mr. Wright was here, because he was over the innovative schools and I think had a lot more latitude in those schools than schools do now with the removal of that office of the School of Innovation. I still think it's a worthwhile program. I hear great things from the teachers. So I'm hoping we can move forward with it. At any rate, I just wanted to say, they're in the audience, the Reed Foundation's here. So I just want to say thank you to the Reed Foundation for all their support. Our kids are better off because of it. Our staff are better equipped and better able to teach literacy, because that's all the science of reading is in Orton Gillingham is an approach, a science of how kids learn. And we've along with other stakeholders, have been able to help our teachers understand how to teach literacy. You would think that it was something that they would know or we would know, and we've learned a lot. We've learned so much over the last few years on what to do better. And it's when I say it's a game changer, it is a game changer. What we can do, especially if we start in pre-K. Moving on up, we won't need third grade retention because we'll have already done what we needed to do in pre-K through 2, and they will be reading to learn in third grade, which will change their trajectory and everything that could be beyond that. Like when I say that, in my career in education, or in my life of being involved in education, I've been involved in it in some sort for 20-something years. Not as an educator, but as a mom and being heavily involved in education policy, this is the one thing that I think will stick. But the only way that it sticks is if we implement with fidelity, if we follow through, if we keep providing resources that our teachers need, if we can get into their classrooms and we can model it, because it's a lot. I went to a couple of the classes, both the literacy lab that OCPS had and also the Reed Foundation, and to say that it's overwhelming the amount of information that you get is an understatement, and you need those constant resources. You need those constant push-in services so that teachers really have a good or a great understanding of what this approach is and what the science of reading teaches us. So I'm hoping that we incorporate all partnerships that we have at our fingertips, and that we're able to, because when we talk about it takes a village, that Member Front mentioned earlier, it's going to take a village to educate and train and teach our kiddos throughout Orange County, because we do have 207,000 students, and it's just minor things are difficult. So something on this level is going to need to be all hands on deck, and it's for the betterment of our students, and it's important to everybody up here on this board and to our district. So I hope that we take all that in consideration when we're looking at MOUs and looking at other things, and we keep centered on the fact, how can we make this work, because at the end of the day, it's good for kids. The next thing that I want to bring up is we had a speaker here that was talking about ESE ratios was at Brookshire. I've received some other emails and text messages about the lack of SLP services and some behavioral specialist services from several different schools, which I'll be sending to Mrs. Ivory and Dr. Vasquez. But I was wondering, It's been a while since we've had an ESE update on, and I know that Wendy Ivory and her group has done great work and made progress. I would love to have an update on where we were and where we are now as part of a work session or a strategic update. I think it's imperative that we do these maybe more than annually, but that we do these often so that the community knows all the work that we're doing, that the community knows that this is top of mind, top of priority for us to ensure that these students receive the necessary services that's in their IEP, and just to let them know what's going on to keep them informed. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing also is being a little more proactive in terms of communicating. It's amazing. I was talking to Miss Ivory out there just a minute ago. Dr. Ivory? Oh, okay, I wasn't sure, but I always hate to shortchange somebody who's. But but the change that we've seen in the amount of angst and communication that we had from parents to where we are now is still. I just sometimes have to stop, pause, and think about it because it's phenomenal. But I agree with you. I think it would be great to have that presentation and to see where we were and where we are, because when somebody walks in and they don't see how far you've come, they can't appreciate the progress you're making. So I think that's also important.
One more question, Madam Chair.
Please.
Yeah. Would it be possible for the school board members just to get an update on where we are with our SLP shortages, our ESE teacher shortages, our behavioral specialists, basically any position that would impact ESE students and their ability to receive services?
You're welcome. All right. I think that closes us out for this evening. All right. Yeah. Big sigh. All right. All right. This meeting is adjourned. Great first week. See you all next time.